Welcome everyone. Today we'll be discussing on the topic called self-leadership. Leadership which is self-driven and it not be driven by the followers and objectives, or should I say situation based. It is the innate leadership quality that is inside you and it intrinsic part of your character. Let us understand the aims or the agenda for this particular presentations. To define the concept of self leadership, adaptive self leadership is to gain an understanding of the various theories and styles of leadership. To be able to distinguish between self leadership and self management, these are two different concepts altogether, and considers what is an effective self leadership looks like. To develop an awareness of your own strength, your own style, and explore the strategies to further develop your own potential as a leader. Management is doing things right. Leadership is doing right things. This is what Peter Drucker told way back in 1999. It is management is all about doing the things right, whereas leadership is all about doing the right things. Leadership process involves the establishment of directions, aligning people and motivating, thereby inspiring each and every followers. On the other hand, management is all about allocating of resources, probably planning about it, budgeting for them, organizing, staffing, and problem solving. Remember, this is to be done with certain structure regime in place. We need to understand the leadership is all about vision, strategy, creativity. It is all how you inspire and influence followers, lead people from the front. It need be people focused, charismatic, you name it, and we have it. It is your heart that you are attached to it. It is your heart that your strengths has been ringing the right tone. So it is proactive. It sets the direction. On the other hand, all about management is all within the constraints of policies, procedures, values, power, and control. Which is to get your things done as far as work is concerned, task is concerned. There might be style which can be authoritarian. People might miss it as a leadership style, but probably not. Remember, managerial is all about reactivity and not proactivity. It is all about planning. So when we can have a best of the managers and the best of the leader skills, which can be accomplished by by the goal and the vision that comes around it, as in the organization for foresightness. This is what you will do about motivating others and mobilizing resources for an optimum utilizations and achievement of the goals thereby. This is what we are looking for. What types of person makes an excellent leader? Remember, we have different styles, we have different philosophies and models for thereabout, and I am trying to let you know about the transformation leadership style is often the most effective approach. It motivates the people and builds a stronger and more successful relations thereby. And this is what we are looking forward toward it. This is what we should be going around every now and then, as the case might be. So, leadership models might be trait based models, functional models, situational models, integrated psychological models, functional models, thereby. What are the philosophy? It might be a servant philosophy, it might be authentic philosophies or leadership style, value based leadership, sources of power can be ascribed or prescribed, ethical leadership that goes around it. But this is the style that we talk about. It is a self leadership, the transformational leadership, the transactional leadership, the narcissist leadership, and the charismatic leadership is what we are talking around it. Remember, this presentation is all about self leadership. It is amalgamation of the various model philosophies and style that comes around and which intrigues a person to take the mantle of the leadership position. So let us understand the various styles in terms of autocratic, which is solely focuses on the power or allocation of the resources. Transactional is something where there is a give and take process, as in you get things done in lieu of, let's say, rewards or punishment. Democratic is all about the majority of versions that goes around it. It is all the power with the numbers that comes around it. Laissez-faire leadership is means to let the followers follow on his own sweet will, at the same time ensure that the follower is following your particular path, the leader's path, by its own sweet way. Transformational leaderships are the excellent leadership qualities that needs to be cultivated or often has is been cultivated, which inspires the people to achieve remarkable results. It gives the workers autonomy over a specific job. So I've described with you the five leadership styles that comes around it, be it autocratic, transactional, democratic, laissez-faire, and transformational thereby. The core leadership skills are the foundation of effective leadership, while the adaptive leadership skills create dynamic, agile leader who are incredibly effective in any environment. The core leadership, we talk of strategies, vision, acumen, planning, and courage to lead. That is what we are looking around it. The action is decision making, communication, mobilizing others as the case might be. Remember, we are not only looking at the vision part of the leadership, or the strategy part of the leadership, or the action planning part of the leadership, as the case might be. We are also looking at the outcomes in based of risk taking and result focus agility that comes around it. Yes, adaptive leadership is what is the demand of the time, the day that comes around it. A leadership with a high EQ or emotional intelligence quotient, as the case might be. We talk about the four parameters, that is of self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and the relationship management thereby. Adaptive leadership is also about organizational justice, the theory of equity, as far as the decision fairness is concerned. I said equity, right? Information sharing and outcome concern, as the case might be. Characters are integrity, credibility, and value differences. Thereby, we have to go across this. Now, let us talk about the adaptive leadership, the development, lifelong learning, and the developing of the others that comes around it. As the case of adaptive leadership is to be told upon. So, we have the EQ, we have the just theory or the equity theory, and the characters of the person and the development that comes around it. This all have vital roles to play in your self leadership characteristic. You need to have fragmentations of core competencies. You need to have the fragmentation of core leadership, the various leadership styles that comes around it, the adaptive leadership styles that needs to be inculcated based on your emotional quotient, the equity theory, the character theories, and the development. So, what the question remains as in what does it make or what does it take to become a wonderful leader? I will reckon there are five characteristics, that is of self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and the social skill. Now remember, it is all essential ingredients of emotional intelligence. A person who knows what are the emotions that he is or she is undergoing within himself, better if the person knows his or her emotions, and probably about the person in the environment, what are the emotions running around it. And that is, if the person can manage the emotions of others towards the benefit, towards its own benefit, is what I will say a self awareness and self regulation is all about it. The social awareness, as the case might be, now you need to look at as to be a vibrant, emotionally aware person who can manage the relationships about whatever is there within the vicinity of the person. So, person who knows his own emotional quotient, how to manage his or her emotional quotient, how to manage the other people emotional quotient, probably builds the foundation or lays the foundation of a strong relationship. And that is what I call empathy, motivation, and social skill. This is nothing but emotional intelligence, as the case might be. Yes, if it is true, it is true for one and all of the successful people that is there around it. So, what does self leadership means to you? Remember, self leadership. I have told you everything about leadership. I have given in a juxtaposition of around 10 odd minutes what is the leadership qualities, what are the leadership styles, what are the leadership models, what are the ingredients for being a successful leaders, adaptive leaders, emotional leaders, and so on and so forth. Then what is that intrinsic value, intrinsic quality that a person should possess to become a self leader? It is he that would govern others first, should be a master of himself. Remember, if you cannot master your own intelligence, if you cannot master your own emotional, if you cannot manage it, how can you manage? How can you expect to manage the rest of the community? As the question is, so self leadership is great. Leadership starts with the person in the mirror. You look, this is what needs to be managed in the first place. To lead other, we need to be first able to lead ourselves effectively, even if you don't have a leadership title, or should I say, there is not a senior position that you're working in the company within an organization, you can still, I repeat or I reiterate, you can still be a self leader as the case might be. Remember, influences is what we are looking for forwards towards it. It is important to understand how others experiences you in your leadership style so as to become aware of your inner need, the strength, the areas of development, the weakness, and to make the adjustment as or when not required. With the passage of time, you need to understand this is what is mandated or warranted as thereby. Remember, self leadership is the process by which you can influence yourself to achieve your goals, as the case is all about it. I will discuss the four pillars of self leadership. First pillar is knowing what you are, who you are, what exactly you believe in, what is important to you, and what is your goal. The next pillar is all knowing what you do, what you are good at it, your behaviors and your motivation is what the second pillar is all about it. Before we move to the third pillar of knowing what is the deficiency that is bothering you, what is your weakness, identifying the learning point, and probably ensure that your weaknesses have been elevated or eliminated in due courses of time. If you do not have the technical prowess, gain the knowledge. If you need to acquire a skill, gain the skill. And that is what, how will you improve as a person in the self leadership skills. Now we come to the fourth pillars of self-leadership. It is use what you know. So based upon your strength, based upon your competencies, one is one that you have enhanced it. Now can you build a successful habit to support the pillar? Create an environment for the success as the case might be what we are looking into it. Align with your values to lead with authenticity, values a stable construct from which belief systems are generated and are central to the motivation, behavior, and relationship and happiness as on when on basis. Remember, most often values are unconscious. They have been decided from an early age, what are typically never reevaluated. So we can end up with the values that are not congruent with our current environment, as the case might be. To effectively lead yourself, you need to be clear as to what you are, where do you want to receive, what is your core value, and how do you achieve it. Remember, the rule of the thumb is values can be expressed in one, two, three. Beliefs can one to three words. Values, remember, beliefs in a full sentence, but attitude requires paragraph. So that is what you need to go around it. Align your values to be as authentic as you are altogether. Again, to core it up, to sum it up, the values can be expressed in first one word, two word, or three words. Probably belief can be comprising only of one single sentence, at best two. But to describe attitude, they require a full, complete paragraph, properly a full page around it. So align with your values. Now, self leadership begins from the place of connectedness. Connectedness with your authentic self. First, you got to know yourself. Until and unless you're aware of yourself, how can you conquer others altogether? Values connect you to your authenticity, authentic neighbors that comes around it. How do you go about it? To reveal what you are, who you are, where do you find, if you have been identified, your top three or five core values, as the case might be. Now we'll talk about those emotional intelligence quotient as in self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management. The first quadrant is knowing your own self. In order to develop self leaderships must be able to examine their own principles, own values, own assumption, own ethos as on when on basis. The essence of an authentic leader is to be aware of yourself, how you interact with others, knowing who you are and impact on your other people. Self-awareness includes an understanding of leadership style as the passage comes around it. This is what we are looking into it. So how to become more self-aware? This is the question that comes and probably is blogging a lot of people in numbers of time. Now we will take the help of a Johari window. Remember, there are certain things which we know about ourselves, which can be plotted on the x-axis, right? And then there are certain things where people know about us and we don't know. So known to others has been plotted on a y-axis. So the four quadrant that comes around it, we know about ourselves and people know about ourselves. This is an area which is a public area where everybody knows everything. But what happens when there are things that I deliberately do not tell it to others? Uh, Deliberately, not I do not tell to others and I mask it. So, but I know myself. So, what is that area known as? Is the masked self or the hidden self. It's a private area. Probably, there might be reasons. For example, I might be snoring when I am asleep. But I don't let anybody know that I actually snore like a pig altogether. So that is where I keep hidden my principles. So this is unknown to others. Similarly, there are certain aspect of mine, probably, which is unknown to me but known to others. Probably when I speak, I might be spitting. Probably, this is what I'm guessing. And I unconsciously, I might be an excellent orator, but I might be spitting when I speak. At people, it is a disgusting habit, as the case might be. And in case the people are in awe about me and full of respect for me, do not utter a word about it. How do I rectify myself? So this is a blind spot that I'm not aware. I do not know about it, but people are aware of it. Or in other words, can we have another state where there is not known to me or not known to others, and this is the unconscious state or the dark phase, unknown. So what is the idea of becoming a self-aware? Can we increase the area to this level or to full level? You know, every enlightened person, every spiritual person has no dark spot at all. Absolutely no dark spot, no unconscious reason. And this is a thing which will happen probably. That is what I've been trying to guess it out. So awareness of your own strength and leadership style. Consider the leadership style you believe will best facilitate your goals. Effective leaders can adapt their styles to the need of the followers. Let's say the nature of the situation. Let us talk about Churchill, Lincoln. They are an excellent leaders, but in difficult times they have been unsuccessful at other times. They excellent leaders only in difficult times, but in successful normal times probably they might not have done as stupendously well as they have come across. So let us understand the five core qualities of leadership, right? First is enthusiasm for learning. Great leaders are excellent learners. They like to pick up the tricks. They like to learn a new trade. They learn to like to pick up a new language and you name it, and they are very much interested to go about. They are very enthusiastic for learning. Their goals for life and careers are absolutely shining, and they have formal performance review every now and then. In case if you want to pick it up every 5 years, they like to polish their skills and pick a new one if required. Willingness to let go. Yes, self leaders delegate. And this allows for a better leadership in the areas of strength and let it go, let it pass around. Planning, self leaders create plans, schedules, and they stick to them as the case might be. What is planning? Focus on self discipline, focusing on one task at a time, doing well their best work, and creating better results. And this is what we are looking into it. Self-leadership skills involves leaders' abilities to reflect on self-strength and weaknesses, thereby, as the case might be, all about it. So, five core qualities: enthusiasm for learning, goal for life and career, willingness to let go, planning, and focus and self-discipline, as the case might be. So, good self-leadership. What exactly? First and foremost thing, your views and your values. Can we recognize them? If required, can we articulate them? Understand how are they relatable to one another, and if required, iron out those issues within the group in an inclusive fashion. Similarly, you need to identify what are you good at and what are you not so good at. So this needs to be taken into consideration when you are behaving with others, to understand what is the stress that comes around it, and importantly, very important, to understand and recognize diversity and the inherent beauty behind the diversity, inherent strength that can be uh, ca- captivating, and probably you can encash it to a better result. Identify your own emotions and prejudices, understand how this can affect judgment and behavior, actively seek opportunities and challenges for personal development, act on a feedback for a variety of sources and changes behavior based on feedback and reflection thereby. So why do we go across it? What is the requirement as far as the self-assessment feedback things are concerned? How do we go about every now and then? Let us understand about your behavior. Let us observe for next 6 months your behavior. Keep a reflective journal attached to a situation. Evaluate your effectiveness as often as possible. And most importantly, deliberate on others' reaction, reflect on the result that you have obtained. Another way is to getting yourself understood as a leader. We use feedback, 360-degree feedback is the best one to go around it. Choose key stakeholders, blind spot buddy as that when possible. Take all criticism in your strides and try to work upon it. And that's the only way to have an improved self-awareness and self-management thereby. So 5 tips. Quickly, we'll go about the 5 tips in the next last 5 slides of the day. Probably is self-care. First, try to build everything into it. Ensure that you are going to the day as per your plan. Self-awareness, knowing who we are, how we show up, what is our strength, what is our weakness. It is the core of the authenticity, and authenticity leads to trust. Self-improvement, be on the lookout for the ways to evolve, self-manage. Think about how you can manage your thoughts, your feelings, both at work and at your home. You can, I repeat, you can do this by journaling, to be in touch with your emotion. Self-reflection, the most successful leaders build self-reflection into their time. They keep on evaluating upon themselves and upgrading as on when on basis, and almost on a regular basis, of some doing it at the end of 6 months, some at the end of 5 years, as the case might be. And you will see the new you and the old you. The old you have made an exit and a new you would have emerged by now. And that is what PDP is all about. It your personal development plan that comes around it. Remember, we have given you a 8 step, a smart, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound approach to incorporate a smarter you, a personal leadership development plan, as the case might be. Step one, what makes a great leader? Identifies those characteristics, identify those skills. Next, now identify what you are good at, what is your core value. Step number 3, look where do you want to see yourself, what is your personal vision, give it a time frame if required. Step number 4, seek feedback from your friends. Now probably solicit feedback, as in whatever you have written up for your goals, is it doable? They will be the first responses, and believe me or not, it will be an eye opener for you. Identify those critical indicators for success. If required, find a mentor, write an action plan with measurable time bound goals. Step number 8, the last one, is to reflect, evaluate, and seek development opportunities, as the case might be. This is what we are looking forward to it every now and then, thereby. So let us proceed with the LQF. LQF is a leadership quality framework. Remember, it is grounded in an everyday life, everyday practices of leadership quality framework, behaviors, and underpinned by personalizations and co-production. Describe in clear and accessible way what good leadership looks like in a different settings and situation. Illustrate the attitudes and behavior needed for high quality leadership at every level of the sectors the case might be. As you are aware of it, this is the factual requirement every now and then. The leadership quality framework, We come to the last slide for the day is your six principles. Remember, social purpose, co-production, innovation, improvement, integration, and risk and responsibility of leadership practice. So you should be acceptable by the society as on when on basis. It should be a cooperative effort. It should be a lot of collaboration has to be taken place in your decision, in your execution. If you can bring in some sort of creativity, some sort of improvement, some sort of integration and mutual beneficial, there should be a win-win approach to all the problems that comes around it. Yes, at times we should be able to take calculated risk, and we should be, in case there is a failure, should own up the responsibility for the same thing. The LQO for the Leadership Quality Forum, what does it tells about it? The four levels is the frontline workers, the frontline leaders, the operational, and the strategic leaders, as the case might be. Yes, each one of them are leaders in their own place, be it the frontline workers, the frontline supervisors or leader, the operational workers or managers, and the strategic leaders thereof. And that is what is Leadership Quality Forum, as the case might be. With this, I come to an end of this presentation of self leadership. Thank you for watching the video.